Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews, or if you're new to the channel, my name is James, and this is JG3 Reviews. I review pens and fountain pens and related things to that, and mostly fountain pens so far. But every time I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna got some other things lined up that I want to share, something catches my eye, it gets on my radar, and I end up bumping a few videos to the future. This is actually one of those weeks. The other day I was on Amazon. This is probably a couple weeks ago. I was on Amazon, and it shows you what you've been looking at before, what you've bought, and what you might be interested, what you might want to buy again. Well, in the you might be interested in section was this pen, and it's kind of a mystery pen in a way. This is an Amazon Basics fountain pen. I had no idea that these things even existed. It's made in China. It says so right up here. But who makes it? I have no idea. And maybe somebody out there knows, and you can share that in the comments below, and I think the rest of us would appreciate being enlightened. Sometimes comments, that people share on different videos really teach all of us a little bit more about fountain pens or a certain company and everything. Maybe somebody has information to share on the Amazon Basics fountain pen. As I said, I know that it was made in China. It says that it was made in China right at the top of the clip. Obviously, to their specs, it doesn't remind me of any particular Chinese pen. I don't think they just took a pen and stamped Amazon Basics on the clip. I think Amazon probably said, here is what we want, here's how we want it to be, and that's what we have. But who manufactures? No idea. So I see it. It was at a decent price. I believe it was $9.99, I think it was. For the pen, I'll put a link in the description. And that's not bad for a well-made fountain pen. So I thought, well, let's see if it is one. Let's see if it is well-made and what it's like. And I've been pleasantly surprised by this pen. So if you're as interested as I was, stick with us. We'll flip the camera. We'll look at the design, what the pen looks like close up, the nib, which is an interesting part of this pen, and of course of any fountain pen really, but particularly this pen. And then we'll see how it writes. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so when that Amazon package arrives at your house and you're all excited and you rip into it and you tear it open, this is the first thing you see. A black box. And so it's a nice touch at this price range. Usually pens don't come with one, so if you're into keeping around these boxes or you want to give it as a gift, it does have one. It's plain, it's unbranded, very simple, maybe even overly simple, but it does exist. And so that's more than bubble wrap or a blister pack, and so some people are going to find that a nice surprise. When you open up your box, you have the Amazon Basics fountain pen and two cartridges that are also Amazon Basics black ink and branded, as you can see. These are short international cartridges or international shorts, which means that immediately you realize you've got a pen that fits billions of different ink cartridges from different companies and different colors and all that kind of stuff. So that's always good. It's a handy thing. If, like me, you don't use very many cartridges, it doesn't come with a converter, but standard international cartridges are going to be compatible with this pen. So I've got some lying around that are generic, some that are leftover Jinhaos and Bowers, and so I don't think I'm going to have any problem digging into that drawer and finding an international converter that fits this pen. Now, when you take the pen out of the box, then you'll find that it's actually not just two ink cartridges, but inside the barrel, they also ship a third. So you get three international short cartridges of ink right out of the box. So if you're giving this as a gift to someone who's never had a fountain pen, they can hit the ground running, and that's always good. You will notice, let's look at some design points about this pen. Just a nice classic black pen. I don't see it available in any other colors. I believe this is the only version and no variety of different styles at this moment. I guess this is a new pen. I don't know how long it's been out. I know I just noticed it recently, and looking at reviews, I think it must have just been released fairly recently. But a very nice design. It is a metal pen. It is not plastic. It's a metal pen. And so it has a nice weight and a nice balance to it that I think you'll appreciate. That cap, I like it. It's a friction fit cap, snap cap, and so it goes on with a nice snick. Then that's actually a quality thing. Some pens don't do that very well, and some don't actually hold very strongly. This is very well fit. It will not just pop off. So that is a good sign for this pen. You will notice that on the clip, it is branded Amazon Basics, if I can get that to focus. And so that is stamped into a clip. This style of clip with this raised part stamped into it is familiar, but several different companies, so that's actually not so much a clue as to who made the pen, because several companies use this little design element right here. It is a good, strong steel clip, but not so tight like some pens that it's hard to get in and out of a pocket. It has just a simple I guess metal chrome here at the top and at the bottom. Nicely designed, has a couple of grooves into that and grooves there as well. So very, very simple, very basic design, but nice. And it feels really good in the hand. It feels like the finish is well done. And as I said, of course, it has that nice snick. Now, let's open this pen up and see how it is. And it will, by the way, it does post securely. No problem there if you're a poster. And I am, although not as much as I used to be because of some of the pens that I've been using. I got a little bit of ink on there that dried up. But what you will notice, let's go ahead and look at that nib. When you look at the nib, it simply is medium. And as far as I know, it is only offered in this one nib. I might be wrong about that, and I'll double check, and I'll make a note here if it's different, but I think it just comes as a medium. I have no idea who made the nib. Maybe some of you out there may. It all looks like fairly standard fare. And just to compare it, let's see here. I have handy a Diplomat Magnum so that if you're familiar with those, you can see. Size is not identical, but similar. And let's see, what else do I have here that might give you some idea? Here is a Pilot Metropolitan. And again, not identical and not quite the same size or shape or anything. But that gives you some idea of what you're looking at size-wise, and actually fairly comparable pens, as we'll see as we go along here in the review. The section is metal. Let's see here. Or it may be metal insert in plastic. I haven't decided just what that is. It has a similar feel to, say, the grip section of a Lamy Studio. It's kind of, you know, a similar finish, although I wouldn't compare these pens, but kind of the what you like and don't like about that grip section, if you're familiar with it, would carry over some, although it's a different shape. I find it a comfortable pen to write with. You'll notice that there is a brass insert here inside that grip section, so that gives you some idea of how it's constructed and quality and things like that. I find it to be a well-made pen. I just have no idea who made it. As you can see, again, it does come with that one cartridge inside the barrel. And speaking of which, let's see if I can remember which end the camera is out here. I don't have my lighting is not good to see down into the barrel there, but metal barrel, and as I said, it has a nice weight. So several turns to get that on. And as I said, just a simple pen, but a good looking pen, a good feeling pen. And so I've been impressed with it so far. You'll notice again on that nib, there's no design or anything. There's literally nothing here to give you any clue as to who made this nib, although there may be somebody out there who can set us straight on that. But I will tell you this. This is actually, plain as it may be, a really nice nib. It writes very well, as we'll see here in the test. So let's go ahead and look at the writing test and see how it does there. All right, so let's see how it actually writes. Again, this is the Amazon Basics pen. You can kind of hear that it's actually a pretty quiet nib. I like this pen. I like the way it writes. And actually, I would say of the medium nibs I've tested recently, it's pretty high on the list. I don't know exactly where I would put it. I would have to do some more side-by-side comparisons and switching back and forth to really be able to say. But it really is good. And this is just, I'm just going to abbreviate, this is just their black ink. Don't know who makes that either, but it writes all right, just fine, as good, pretty good standard black ink cartridge. You know, it is what it is. I'm going to be quiet and let you hear how smoothly this writes, if you can tell. That gives you some idea. Kind of a in the middle as far as wetness and dryness. It writes a nice smooth line. I don't, but it does. Just draw, maybe this to show you kind of how it writes. So I find that it writes very, very well. Here are some things that I have thought about it. The style of it is nice and simple in a good way. I actually think the plain nib is not bad. I like a little bit of etching on a nib now and then, but it's very, very simple. With the exception of having the logo here, there's nothing here to tell you anything about where it is, except that it does say China there on top of the clip, and that's it. So it's kind of a little bit of a mystery pen. Where did it come from other than the country? I don't know, but it's good. I will tell you, like a lot of Chinese pens, it's well made. This one writes very, very well. I just can't say enough about how nice and smooth it is. I've had no trouble with it whatsoever. It just writes very, very well, I think. And it feels good in the hand. It's a nice pen, nice weight to it, very well made. So what would I compare it to? You can see here I have the Jinhao, and this is the 750, the X750. And it is made in a lot of the ways that people like this Jinhao. It's a nice pen. It has a larger nib and is a good medium nibbed pen, writes smoothly itself. A lot of the things people like about this pen are true of this one. It's just a completely different style. The weight is quite similar. The way they're made is similar. I don't think they made it, but those pens compare favorably together. Another pen from Jinhao I would compare it to in the same price range, if you're comparison shopping like I do, would actually be the gigantic 159. Again, similar in the way that they feel and are made, other than some very obvious size and style differences. But if you're comparison shopping, these pens all fairly similar. If you buy them from Amazon or a company here in the United States, they're going to be priced pretty similarly, this one being a little bit more. And if you buy these like I did, well, I bought this from a store in the States, but I bought this one from eBay from a Chinese seller, well, then you can get two of these for the price of the Amazon pen. In the same price range, almost to the penny, would be the $10 Platinum Prefante, and I've reviewed all these pens. Very different style, and this one is a plastic pen. It's a demonstrator pen. Very, very different, but both of them good writers, both of them good medium nibs. More is known about this pen, but I would say it compares favorably with that pen. Looks a little bit, I mean, it's a different style. Looks a little bit more versatile, different settings. A few more settings, this pen would be appropriate than this pen, maybe. Still somewhat similar in price, but more is the Pilot Metropolitan. For a lot of people, this is like the perfect starter pen, and I would never argue with them about that. It really is an excellent pen. However, you know, not everybody likes the step down, and some people think that the grip is a little bit too thin for longer writing. This one would have a little bit thicker grip section, So there is that, and this one does cost a little bit more. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes you can find the Diplomat Magnum on sale, getting close to that, $12.50 maybe. So that's in the range. This one also writes very, very nicely with the medium nib. It's a lighter pen, a plastic pen, and so there is that. That's all I'm going to say about that one. I reviewed that, so you can go back and look at that. I reviewed recently the Parker Jotter fountain pen. Normally twice the price of this pen, but I got mine 50% off, so they were the same price for me. If I were picking between these two pens, it gets kind of difficult. I like the style, the look, the color of the Parker. I like the history of the Parker. That might be enough to swing me that direction. But writing, and this is a very personal thing, you know, when it comes to actually the writing and how it feels in your hand as you're writing, and whether or not it's a comfortable pen for a longer writing section, all that kind of stuff, right? I might actually pick the Amazon Basics pen. To be honest, it runs so well with all these pens that I might grab it more than any one of these other pens. I might rather write with this sometimes than the Pilot Metropolitan. That's really saying something. So I have no idea what was behind Amazon other than making money, and that clearly says that the fountain pen market must be a money maker, improving, because Amazon wants to be part of the action. But it's actually a decent pen. That's all I know to say about it. I really like it. It writes well. It's a good price. It's easy to get. You order one and you get it maybe the next day. I think for me it was 2 days because I live out here in the middle of nowhere in Texas. But some of you would be able to get this probably within, you know, a day. Some towns you might get it within an hour. That's going to be a deal for somebody. It's a good pen. I have this one over here too. The other pen, the Bauer 100, a Chinese pen, very similar, not the same, but very similar in style and in weight, although this is an extra fine nib, so it's going to write differently. This one would be cheaper because you're going to buy that on eBay and wait 3 weeks. But if you're not that patient and you're fine with this style as much as this style, this one would probably be easier to get to, and you're certainly going to have it sooner. So it kind of depends on your patience then. So there you are, the Amazon Basics. As you can see, as I've accidentally put them here, a good middle of the pack, $10 fountain pen that is not going to be a waste of your money, and you're actually going to enjoy writing with. So there you have it. I would recommend this pen if you wanted to get one. Not a bad pen at all. God bless you. Like and subscribe and share video with your friends if you think they might be into a fountain pen. This would be a great beginner pen. Have a great week.